Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily express the views or opinions of Equity Media, its management, staff, or affiliates of WBOK 1230.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Anthony Bridges, and I'm the Community Development Lender for NOLA Lending Group, a division of Fidelity Bank. And today I'm here on behalf of the New Orleans Regional Black Chamber of Commerce. Today we have some very special guests. Of course, I have my co-host, Mr. Edward B. Coulon-Smith.
What's happening? Greetings and salutations. Good afternoon.
And we also have joining with us today Ms. Crystal LaBeouf of Corks and Crystal. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
We're excited to have you. So the New Orleans Regional Black Chamber of Commerce is an organization and a resource for Black businesses and entrepreneurs in the New Orleans region. We hosted the Friday before Thanksgiving, and she brought a very exciting element to this golf tournament with a wine experience, and it was a hit. Everybody absolutely loved it. It was a great component, something that we had never done with our golf tournament before, but it's something that we absolutely have to bring back to the golf tournament moving forward. So thank you so much.
So, I like to partake in wine to unwind, and I thought I knew a little bit about wine until I met Miss Crystal with Corks and Crystal, and she has really enlightened me on a whole bunch of things and a whole bunch of stuff. So, Miss Crystal, how did you come up with Corks and Crystal? How did this business come about?
So I have been a avid wine drinker for probably about 15 years now, and my husband was active duty military, and we had the fortunate ability to live in Germany for 3 years. And while I was in Germany, I learned their country and their culture of wine and beer, and I was next door to Italy. And so I would go to Italy a few times, and the Italians, first of all, they make some amazing wine. And back then I was drinking Moscato, which is an Italian wine, and also Prosecco, which is out of Italy. And so I just kind of learned. I took classes out there. I took cooking classes, like learn how to make fresh pasta. And you always pair wine with food. Anytime like you went to like these little mom and pop restaurants, they would make their own wine and bring you some. And it was really inexpensive, like €2 and €3 for a bottle of wine out there. So when I came back to the States, I came back with about 200 bottles of wine with me. And it kind of became a talking piece when people would visit my house. And I kind of became like, I know you kind of joke with me calling me the wine lady, but I've kind of been the wine lady. And so I definitely enamored myself in the wine culture. Like we moved to Seattle. I visited Chateau Ste. Michelle out there. It's a beautiful winery. I learned, took wine tastings there. And then my sister had a birthday party for my niece, and it was a 25th birthday, and we were talking about how she wanted to bring something different to that party, like a different element that was, kind of luxury as well. And I was like, well, I'm not certified, but I've been to a few wine tastings. They're always nice to attend, and it's a nice luxury element for women. And so she was like, okay, let's do it. So that was my first time doing the wine tasting. 25 people, and we tried about 4 different wines that night. And it kind of took off from there. I was like, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. So I took got my certifications with the WSET, which is the Wine and Spirit Education Trust. my level 1 and level 2, and started my business here last year. And so now I do mobile wine tastings, and then I also kind of educate businesses on some wine things, because a lot of businesses, like, they might say they have a champagne something. It's not really champagne. It's Prosecco or it's Cava. And so it's like letting them know, like, a bottle of champagne is going to run you at least $40 or $50. You are not just serving that as with a mimosa.
Got it.
And so, I like to be correct, and proper in these things.
So wine lady, how does one get in contact with you or procure your services for the mobile wine tasting or any of the other things you do?
So I have a Facebook page and Instagram. On Instagram, I am corks.crystal, and then Facebook Corks and Crystal. My phone number is 225-384-3141, and then my email is corks.crystal2024@gmail.com. But send me a message, and I'm happy to chat.
And if you want to chat with Crystal live today, feel free to call us on the talk line. It's 504-582-9422.
And I know somebody out there wants to call and talk to Miss Crystal, the wine lady, because you got a whole bunch, you got a plethora of events about to come up. We got April coming up, which is Easter Sunday, when you start to bring out your pastels, and I'm trying to bring that in today with my pink on. But we also have the season of festivals. And right now, as soon as Easter hit, you're going to have your seersucker and your sundresses, your seersucker and stilettos, and seersucker and cigars, and all kind of stuff that's coming up. And your fine linen is going to be on, too. So linen goes real well with the wine, don't it, wine lady?
There is a wine for every occasion, okay? You just got to make sure it's the right one. Like when you said the stiletto, I'm thinking, look, rosé is always a good spring wine. I mean, there's the Kentucky Derby with your derby hats. You want to sip on some sparkling wine, some champagne or something like that. I bought today one of the local wines, the New Orleans wines, that I will say it's a hit every time I open a bottle. Her Sparkling Peach Mango by Le Cinq Vins. And so it is amazing. She was just sold out. She saved me a bottle. That's how fast she sells it. So making those connections is really important. My connection with her, my connection with you all has been real instrumental in staying here.
That was actually one of the wines you featured in the wine tasting for the golf tournament, correct?
It is. And she was so elated. She was appreciative. Because, Black-owned wines only make up 1% of all wine producers. And so when we have the chance to feature or get the word out about a wine producer that's a person of color, we want to take that chance. And so that's one of my things when I do tastings. I'm going to feature at least one or two Black-owned wines. And the way to get that information out there is by social media, is by doing these tastings, is by going to the stores. And if you don't see one, ask for it, because they may not know it's available. And so getting the word about these smaller brands is important. There are some larger ones that's making their way out there, and kudos to them. Like, I went on a cruise recently, and I saw McBride Sisters on the boat, and they had Black Girl Magic wine. Okay. And I was like, what? Let me get a bottle of that, please. Right. Go sit on my balcony and drink my wine. Wow. So, yeah. So supporting them, also making it a point to support them whenever you do see it, is important.
And I think that was a big component as to how we, why we chose to bring you on board for that, is because when we had our original conversation, we talked specifically about wanting to feature Black-owned brands at our golf tournament. So we were definitely excited you were able to pull it off. So I have a question. So what are some of the biggest trends in the wine and spirits industries that you see right now?
Right now, one is a lot of people are definitely within reason, health conscious. And so we have some vegan wines that are being made right now, like Tabitha Brown. She is a vegan. And so her wines, she has 3 different wines. She has a red, a white, and a rosé. And they are all vegan wines. Another is organic wines. And so, of course, you definitely want to pay attention to the things you're ingesting and putting in your body. And so a lot of people are specific about having organic wine as well. And another one I could think, I ain't gonna say I'm a fan of it, but they make it easy to travel by putting some wines in cans.
Right.
And so that's another trend that's going around is, I'd say, canned wine.
So you mean to tell me that Morgan David, Mad Dog 2020, is not a good wine?
I'm not saying this is not a good wine. I have had my share.
All right then.
Taylor Port.
But I was about to say that's the old school Taylor Port,
Right.
okay? That Taylor
Wild
Port
Irish
and XXL, it super popular right now. My daughter probably keeps it in our fridge, okay? I will say I'm kind of on the other spectrum. I am more of a classic, but like a lot of people drink like Chardonnay, Pinot Grigio, Merlot, Sauvignon Blanc, things like that. I like mainstream wines, but I tend to like my favorites are like a Shiraz, or I am a Pinot Grigio fan, even though that was mainstream. But I like odd wines. Like there's a Rioja out of Spain that's really good. It comes in red and white, and so I like to find different wines to try. And like if you've never heard of that, like let's try that. I'm all about new experiences.
So let's talk just briefly, and then we'll get back into the wines. That's the hit topic. But let's talk about your journey through entrepreneurship, right? You talked about your travels and the things that you've come across that made you want to get into this industry. But what are some of the experiences that you've had as an entrepreneur? So maybe some of the challenges that you've had to overcome.
So one, like I mentioned, we're a military family, and so we were moving every 2-3 years. So picking up a business and starting in a new city and state each time, new clientele, new marketing fees, new registration fees, and things like that. So definitely startup costs. Thank goodness my 9-to-5. I'm fortunate in having a full-time job that allows me to invest a lot of my funds, even though I know that's frowned upon it in a lot of circles, using your own money to start your business. But I'm also impatient, and I know this about myself. So, I could write grants and apply for things like that. But when my head is in the game, I don't want to wait on things. So I'm going to just go ahead on and make my moves. And I do those things to kind of, and if they come, I'm blessed. But if not, I'm still making moves. So for me, challenges is, starting over. And then anytime I go somewhere, finding new networking groups. Thank goodness I ran across the Facebook post inviting to First Fridays that you all host. That was at Burn Cigar Lounge in Slidell. And that was my first encounter with you all. But it's definitely been a lasting one. And so building the relationships when I go to these new places and networking events with people has been very important. I know I featured the Le Cinq Vins wine, but me and Bree, the lady from it, we stay in contact. She invites me to things that she'll host. I invite her to things that I host and vice versa. Also with restaurants, anybody that I meet in a restaurant, I pass them my card and let them know. And, so it's just making contacts wherever I go. And yes, if you're not an extrovert, it can definitely be challenging getting out there and putting yourself out there all the time. But, if you have goals and things that you want to do, you just kind of keep going with it.
Right. I was going to bring up the fact that it was a joy meeting you at First Friday, making an introduction, and then having you on board for the Golf Classic. I know how we spoke about how good it was to have you at the Golf Classic with us, but we want to hear from your point of view. how was your experience by being at the New Orleans Regional Black Chamber of Commerce Golf Classic and putting on the tasting event and all the other stuff that you did while you were there?
So initially, I was a little hesitant. I was like, "Oh my goodness, we're about to be outside," and that was my first time doing the tasting outside. But it ended up being really nice. I mean, the tent, the chairs, the setup. There was enough room to move around. And I'm, like I said, I'm kind of classical in how I like my wine. I like wine is really temperament. Like it has to be served at right temperatures in the right environment and things like that. So I wanted to make sure that I presented myself and my wine in the right setting or in the right settings. And so coming to the Golf Classic, that was my first event outside of the first Friday with you all, but it really was eye-opening. I had never been to that golf course, but I met the other owners, business owners that was featured there, and everybody was super nice, super sweet. We exchanged information and things like that. So more connections made. Even the ones that attended the wine tasting, they told me, like, we go to tastings all the time, and they really enjoyed it. So that made me feel good. As I was like, oh, my gosh, I'm definitely going to come back. If you host something else and I'm available, I'm attending, whether I'm working the event or not, might I add.
That is a segue to our women's event that's coming up in either September or October. And we plan to have it here on the campus of Xavier University like we have before. So we will be inviting you out so you can be a part of the women's event, so you can do another wine tasting and all the things that you do for us and with us. So go ahead, and once I get the date to you, please save the date. Everybody else, just stay tuned for that date. And Corks and Crystal will be in the building.
And opportunities like that comes up because of the connectivity piece, right? So, and there's that power of connecting with organizations like the Regional Black Chamber of Commerce. And we always, talk to people and, they ask, why should I join the Regional Black Chamber of Commerce? And I tell them it's simple, right? The New Orleans Regional Black Chamber of Commerce engages with the business community year round. We advocate, we host networking events and educational events. We provide resources and support to Black business. And overall, our mission is to empower and sustain business growth in Louisiana. Most importantly, emphasizing the importance of participation, right? Having you to participate in the network and connect with our other member businesses and those that we invite to be a part of, or that choose to be a part of the events that we're hosting. So again, we're super, super excited to have had you. So what strategies? I know you're an extrovert, right? So you go out and you don't have a problem knocking on doors and meeting people and talking to strangers. But what strategies have you chosen to use that has been most effective in your ability to get the word out about Corks and Crystal?
Definitely the biggest has probably been social media and then attending other wine events. I'm probably weekly on Eventbrite or Facebook or something like that, looking up different wine events and seeing, if this is something that I'll be able to go to and meet other people that like wine. Looking at businesses like the Chamber or other women groups and things like that to see if that's a networking event that I can showcase my business in. Actually, even looking up other businesses like maybe a paint store or something that I can bring wine to create a paint and sip or some other gaming system. And so just kind of thinking of new creative ways to incorporate wine into something that somebody has established or something that someone is looking to do. I also have partnered with some event planners, and I know a friend of mine, she has an event coming up in Baton Rouge that she's already, I'm going to be setting up a pairing where she'll have a Jamaican chef there, and I'm going to pair wines to go with the menu that he's curating for this event. So that's another aspect of my business as well, is establishing wine pairings to go with meals that are set.
So what You've been all around the world tasting wine. What's your favorite wine? Whether it's a category of wine or a specific brand of wine.
My favorite wine. So far it has been Dom Perignon. However, let's be clear. I'm not going out and buy bottles of Dom like that. I attended a champagne tasting, and at this tasting, we tried 4 different champagnes, and Dom Perignon was just amazing. Like the smaller bubbles, it was light. Yes, that was my favorite wine.
Down P is that.
It is.
Okay.
But my go-to, I will say, is Pinot Grigio. It's a light, crisp wine. I know, and it's crazy because the number 1 wine sold actually is Cabernet Sauvignon, which is a red.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it's always hot out here. I don't want to drink a room temperature, wine. Give me something cool and refreshing. So Pinot Grigio is my go-to.
Gotcha. What we're kind of coming in on our close, but what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs? 1, looking to get into the spirits industry, and 2, just looking to get into entrepreneurship.
So 1, if you're looking to get into spirits, I would say probably, networking is big, making sure you have the right certifications because you definitely want to, abide by the laws and things out there before you have the chance to get your feet on the ground. I chose to go and get my certifications and things like that before I started, heavily doing tastings and things like that. And it gave me the foundation needed to speak about my craft. And so if you are definitely interested, they have different certifications now. Mine is in wine, but there's spirits specifically if you want to, do more so liquor, or you can do even just beer. So you can select your craft, and I say getting the certification gives you a good foundation for speaking on it. Because people are going to ask questions that, granted, I don't know the answer to everything, but, I know, like, you need 2 fermentations to make champagne and things like that. So there are some people that know their stuff. And so I want to be able to talk to the beginner all the way to the expert. And getting those certifications help you have those different levels of conversation.
Got it. So how do you transport 200 bottles of wine into the country?
I did not
ask.
transport. So the military moved, of course, but they had this rule. You had to have at least 80 bottles for it to be a collection. And so if they will transport a collection for us. So I just made sure I had to have at least 80 bottles, and I'm an overachiever. So hence, I needed 80 bottles or more to make sure it made its way here. I lost 3 bottles from probably the temperature and things like that. One cracked, the cork came out, and the other one just kind of started evaporating. So most of them made them know.
You give new life to 200 bottles of wine on the wall.
So just one more piece of advice I like for you to ask. So I attended your wine tasting, but you know how when people go to a restaurant and order a bottle of champagne and they come out and they do the whole little song and dance. Tell us about that, and what should the average person be looking for when that takes place?
So, well, 2 things. 1, if you're ordering a bottle of wine, if you ordered a whole bottle of wine, they should bring it to you, and they should show you the label of the bottle, and you're going to make sure that that's what you order from the menu. You're checking the label, like the vintage, the maker, and things like that. And then next, they should open it right there at your table, and then they're going to pour a little bit in your glass. And so you're going to look at it, sip it, smell it, and things like that. And if the taste is okay, you're going to okay them to pour for you or whoever you're with at the table. If you don't like it, then that's a conversation you can have with them. Like, either it doesn't taste right, or no, isn't what I thought it was, kind of thing. As when they present to you, you have that power, and so, you are the customer. I'm not gonna say customers always right, but
Most times.
most of the time you are.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Right, so,
and so if it doesn't taste right, feel free to say, yeah.
Say right.
I have had to send wine back because somebody bought me something and I know it wasn't what I ordered.
All right, I got a public service announcement real quick. The Brothers of New Orleans Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated are hosting a panel discussion revisiting civil rights for the 21st century, Brown versus Board of Education, to students for fair admissions versus Harvard. This will be tomorrow, Thursday, March 20th, 2025, at 6:30 p.m., George's Auditorium, Dillard University, 2601 Gentilly Boulevard, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70122. Video presentation from Brother Congressman Troy Carter. Panelists are Roy Duplessis, Dr. Monique Guillory, Ted James, and Nedra Dickinson. So please go out tomorrow, and I do believe this is a free event. So please go out to the panel discussion presented by the New Orleans Alumni Chapter of the Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated.
So, Crystal, we again want to thank you for joining us today in this power packed half hour of programming. We're excited. We're happy to have you a part of the Regional Black Chamber of Commerce, and you out there listening, you too can be a part of the Regional Black Chamber of Commerce, and you can do so by visiting norbchamber.org, or you can send an email to our fantastic chairman, Mr. Edward B. Coulon Smith, at
norbcc.chairman2025@gmail.com. So please contact me. Please contact us. Please join the New Orleans Regional Black Chamber of Commerce. And look and stay tuned for all the events that we have coming up, especially our first Friday, so you can see, as you see right now today, what happens when you come to First Friday.
We'll see you next week.
Peace.